Now you know it's been a month since we did our last TLF on Mythic plus Melees, and boy have things changed. Welcome to Tier List Fridays, you know, the show where we rank them as we analyze them with data from logs and sub-creation and all of that, and today it is Melees from Mythic plus. Things have changed, as I mentioned. And boy, is it, wow. I mean, do you know who's S tier? Do you know who's F tier? I mean, can you imagine Frost DK being
it's survival S tier, clearly.
No, but on a serious note, it's been hella fun to play a melee because it is like the meta right now is super melee friendly. However, you do go into some issues when you're not paying attention, and all you want to do is just damage everything, and especially on a Grievous. I have fun because I rely myself on healers.
Dude, when was that? Speaking of Grievous, because this just happened in this week. When was the last time you actually healed Grievous in Dragonflight?
No way, dude. I don't remember. No.
People were taking so much damage, and I remember I was doing a dungeon with you, and then I was also on stream, and I couldn't figure out exactly why people were taking so much damage. And then I remember, all right, Grievous, because for some reason it didn't show on my frames. And it was at this time, like, everybody was just waiting for me to, like, get into the dungeon, and I didn't have it set up, and thank God I had Curse Force to, like, get it, like, in a minute or two, quickly install / reload by UI, everything was set up. I could have the Grievous inside the frames or outside the frames. Anyway, I could actually heal, and it was really good because melees just like to stand in stuff.
Yeah, man. So I think Curse Forge is the key word here. Thank you guys for sponsoring the video. You can get the big debuffs add-on as well. Just click the link in the description, download Curse Forge, and install everything that you want. No problem. It's super fast, super easy, and it helps us as well so much. Now, let's get into it, baby.
Arms
Warrior. Man, Arms Warrior, we've seen the track history on this season for Arms Warrior, and yes, we can all address the elephant in the room. It has high competition with Protection and Fury, that's obvious.
Yeah, pretty much.
Arms Warriors and logs do push very high keys.
They're doing some 24s right now, because I was actually looking at, I want to make sure that Fury Warriors are not just off-specking as arms and just getting carried through keys.
Yeah.
Although it does make it a little bit harder to judge arms performance because the people that are doing like 23s, 24s are just not logging their keys, so we only know that they've timed the keys, we don't know how much damage they did and so on. But even if you look at like 20s and 22s and stuff like that, they do like a lot of high decent damage, which is really good. It's obviously not at the same level as some other specs.
Yeah, some numbers that definitely are different there from other specs that you will see ranked in this. But so far so good, I would say. If you're playing an Arms Warrior and you're trying like to push like the 20s and stuff, I think you're gonna be just fine. Yeah. For now, being the first spec, you'll see why. But it's in B tier, very respectable for us. Always the B tier is the respectable tier.
It's
okay,
the B for beginner friendly.
I mean, you know, it brings the warrior utility. You know, it's like super. You know, the execute phase is just bonkers and stuff. You know, so. It's not, you cannot tell like this is like, you know,
middle of the pack. B tier is very solid if you want to do keys. Obviously everybody's pushing above 20s, even the F tiers are pushing above 20s, so it's all good. Everybody can clear the keys, and from B on upward you can actually start to, you know, see that you're actually contributing pretty highly.
Yeah, you're doing that impact. All right, let's move up to Assassination Rogue, and as we've seen in the past, similar to Arms Warrior, it is a spec that can do very good damage. It does still require a couple of maintenance to deliver that AoE. Although you can talk about a I would say much stronger presence in Tyrannical, where you would see some single target. The main problem is, in order to like do AoE as an assassination, you kind of have to sacrifice single target, and it's not really worth it.
You do, but dude, even so, Assassination really pulls in AoE, man. Like with Indiscriminate Carnage and Kingsbane,
I know they do.
They're actually like it's a surprising amount of damage for a spec that's you know, kind of like skewed into like, oh, you either have single target or AoE. Listen, you kind of have to specialize, sure, and not everybody does, and whoever doesn't have to, it's kind of a little bit higher on the list. But Assassination Rogue can actually pull the numbers that you need, and it can fill that niche, that little slots like what we need. We need AoE. Let's bring an Assassination Rogue.
Yeah, it definitely can. Now you have to remember, now in terms of rankings, these assassinations that are logging on Warcraft logs also play Outlaw and Sub. Okay, so a lot of the same players you're gonna see on the logs are also logging in with you know, Outlaw and Sub. And it's pretty difficult to place them off because there will be specific dungeons where you're gonna see the same players playing different specs. However, in terms of like the overall like kit and performance, Assassination is good, and it's still in the respectable tier. All right.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about Outlaw Rogue, and this is 100% an F tier. This is like the performance of this spec is.
And you're gonna change your main. You're gonna play Survival Hunter, huh? As what's up?
Nah, but seriously, Outlaw Rogue had. I mean, by no surprise, I think we also like in the first Mythic Plus melee ranking, we all ranked it pretty high. It's by no surprise an S tier. We kind of have like all the arguments we can make, even with the nerfs. I think the nerf was looking on Riverhold. The actual translation is like somewhere around 1.5 to 2% nerf, and it's overall, so it's not that big. You know, the thing with the precise cuts.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say that Outlaw is like one of the best attributes for it in Mythic Plus and High Keys is the fact that it doesn't sacrifice anything between single target and AoE, and we all know AoE cleave is bonkers and single target too. I mean, it's
Dude,
not
like I've seen some Outlaws pull some numbers, and obviously whenever you're playing Outlaws, now all right, we're gonna time the key, and it only has like one small downside where you kind of. And the thing is, not other S tier specs don't really have this, but Outlaw still has it, and that you kind of have to stick to the target and constantly rotate through.
Yeah, well, acrobatic strikes helps with that, but yeah, if you're like really far away and you're out of grappling hook and stuff, and you didn't spec into like shadow step or whatever, yeah, you're gonna not have uptime. But that, like when looking at super high keys, most of these bad boys have their uptime there, no problemo. So yeah, no surprise, Outlaw is
still
S
king,
tier. Still king. All right, now let's talk about
another S tier. Shut up, man. Shut up. It's not S tier, but.
Dude, let's talk about survival on the serious note, because it's not as trashy as a lot of people make it out to be.
It's actually doing plus 20 keys. There are a couple of exceptional survivals. One of them being Thigh Mind, who's helped us in the past with survival guides. So we know that the brain and the skill is there. And they're pushing 21s, 22s, which is kind of in the same vein as Arms. However, that's like only one of the few key exceptional players. Not every survival hunter is pushing that high. It could be that either they're... I couldn't really see all of the highest logs. We couldn't really tell exactly how much overall it does. Yeah. So for the ones that we did see, it's still struggling. Like it's very obvious that the damage ceiling potential is way lower than other specs. Okay, so it actually can pump. And like an exceptional outlaw or an exceptional survival, it will beat like average meta DPS specs some of the time.
Yeah, but this is the thing, right? So if you take like a perfect percentile from a survival, and then you take a perfect percentile from an outlaw or a Windwalker,
there's no competition.
Perfect percentiles, like played perfectly, right? It will still be a lot lower than
even if the outlaw doesn't play that well, it will not be the outlaw.
I think like there's also the fact here that you also have MM and BM, and I think in terms of like performance, we're gonna do this on the range, but they're doing a lot better than survival as well. This is another like symptom of it.
As opposed to Outlaw and some other melee specs, there is a good thing to say about survival. Like damage aside, which is likely going to get buffed, survival has one other niche thing that no other melee spec has, is that it's semi-range spec. You can do a lot of your rotation from range. The closer that you can come to this is probably Unholy with Clawing Shadows, where you can just like burst your wounds from like super far away. But survival still has that. Obviously brings all the hunter goodness. So if you still don't have a hunter in your group and the only option is survival, it still brings the bloodlust, it still brings the immunes, and it's still a melee, which is probably sometimes better than a range.
Yeah, but we still have to put it into F tier because all of the numbers indicate this. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I know survival needs some love, and you'll probably get it soon. Yeah. Let's move along to Enhancement Shaman, and boy, oh boy, Enhancement Shaman. I mean,
is
this like the most degenerate damage you can possibly do on a melee?
It's likely Enhancement is the best DPS spec in the game as of this week so far. I mean, we were looking at some of the raid builds as well to see like how it fares in single target in raids as opposed to in dungeons. Yeah. Buffs not included. And it's clearly one of the if not the best single target DPS in the game right now. And in dungeons, is just doing really stupid numbers, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've seen logs like Enhancement Shamans in high keys played perfectly can out DPS outlaws and windwalkers, no problem. But you have to play perfectly. And I have to tell you, being this all rogue meta in Mythic Plus, if you're gonna have an enhancement, let me tell you some. Wind Fury.
I knew it.
Yeah,
I knew
Will
it.
Fury is the best thing ever, man. So this is just in terms of like the utility, but yeah, the damage is there. I guess it's a similar situation as with Assassination. It does have to sacrifice a bit of single target, like for that massive AOE. Like when looking at the talents,
Enhancement will still has like above average single target, even with sacrificing it, but it does gain a lot of AOE, and obviously in a melee friendly meta, you will definitely see Enhancement a little bit more because of Wind Fury. But even with Wind Fury, and this is like a massive difference from survival, the numbers are just really high.
All right.
Like at one point, it's like, okay, sure, Wind Fury, but you're still probably one of the best DPSs in the game.
I had to mention Wind Fury. I'm sorry, it's just too good.
It's good.
Okay,
It's good.
S tier Enhancement Shaman. There's no questions asked. It's what the numbers say, boys and gals. All right. Feral Druid.
Kitty cat.
I've seen some complaints about Feral Druid, and I wasn't really sure why. I mean, we're gonna see some changes, some buffs to a lot of the damage profile of Feral Druids. I think like the AOE is really strong. Single target is a little bit iffy, so it can be a single target beast.
Oh
right?
yeah, for sure.
But in order to do that, it has to like, so this is one of the specs that, okay, you wanted a feral in a tyrannical, it will melt a boss. Like it would be like probably the strongest out of your comp when dealing with that on tyrannical. If you wanted to do AoE, so looking at Fortified...
So you can think of Feral doing everything that Assassination does, but way better with a lot less to sacrifice.
Yes.
So, and the way that Feral is, so in pure single target, you definitely want to play Sudden Ambush with Apex Predator, and Sudden Ambush is a 2-pointer, which a lot of Ferals in Mythic Plus don't really want to put 2 points into Sudden Ambush. It's not really that amazing for Mythic Plus, so it's kind of hard to get it, but with the buffs and the reducing Sudden Ambush to like 1 point, and also Taste for Blood to 1 point, this could essentially change the damage profile of Feral, making it a lot less, let's say, punished for choosing to optimize for high AoE as opposed to high single target, which is, I guess, even Outlaw does that. You play Blade Rush, for instance, and you don't really play that in raids and some of the high.
You play it in raids, but you use Blade Rush mostly to get some energy regen, or when you have like Giga packs and stuff. It's going back to Feral, it's still very strong. I don't think like Feral main should have anything to worry about, especially with the incoming buffs coming out and super good changes to the talents as well. I would say very potent.
It was close. The one of the main reasons, there's like 2 main reasons why Feral is not S tier. One of the main reasons is that it doesn't really have the damage, even with all of it. It's close, but it's not close to S tier. And the second one is that the S tiers are pretty much a comp that's being run across the board in the top keys. It's just the 3 melees, Outlaw, Enhance, and maybe another one. We'll see.
You see, which can it? Plus, Feral is a cat. You gotta love cats, okay? By the time we're gonna have a dog spec, I know Shaman tends to want that. I know it's gonna be different camps, but it's a cat, okay? And we all love pussy. All right, let's go for Frost DK and see how they perform. And I think, again, this is an argument where you will have Giga single target damage, no problemo. Biggest problem, as we always say about Frost DK, is with breath, as it does require.
It never goes away.
Yeah, I mean, dude, as much as we love Frost DK and we love the mechanic of breath, it's very dependent for you to like perform at a high level. That being said, we have seen Frost DKs on high keys, so we're not talking like, oh my god, Frost DKs are struggling at 15s and 16s.
No, they're pushing. I mean, Frost DK is in a weird spot right now because we had to put it into, I think it's C tier, and C tier is not necessarily bad, but it's kind of like a notch below B tier. And Frost DK has been picking up a lot of steam in the last couple of weeks, at least in raids, so we're probably gonna see this eventually in Mythic Plus as well. And breath is definitely the name of the game, and I could imagine not a lot of Frost DKs being happy playing the same build again. Yeah. It is a little bit better, it does have a lot more going for it, and it does always bring, all that good DK utility, like AMZ, immunes, and you can like deal with a bunch of mechanics that no other class can, but it's
still very slow, and this is like the main argument you can have between a Frost and an Unholy. Unholy still has the clone shadows thing, and it can still deal some damage from range. The overall damage output from Frost DK when it doesn't have connection to its target is just low, and there's other specs that outshine it in that case. It's not terrible bad, but it's not like ideal so far. And you've noticed there's a D tier missing there because that's how we made it. Okay,
there's no spec that's gonna be in D tier this time around.
All right, let's talk about Fury Warrior. And Fury Warriors is like the damage, like first of all, this is one of the specs that just goes in like short burst windows, which is really, really awesome. I think like you have things like Odin's Fury, like
you have
Spear,
I think Fury has the most amount of cooldowns out of everybody.
Avatar. There's a lot. There's a lot of ways to just go into short burst windows really fast, and that translates into like when talking about packs and stuff, like moving to pack to pack to pack, it's always reliable spec to have on, and by no surprise, the performance is also way better than ARMS in this regard.
Oh, right? Yeah, for sure. So Fury Warrior is basically, if you're not sure what melee to spec, and you don't really care about being super meta, but you really want to do big damage, Fury is basically the spec for you that works in pugs and works in high coordinated keys, because it has the flexibility of having like 6 cooldowns that you can rotate in between and always have something to do. Having burst is always ideal, and especially in low keys, when you have burst, you're just gonna kill stuff before an assassination gets to put bleeds on.
Yeah, but I think we can place it here with the Feral Boys. It's we could have placed it in S tier, to be honest, but at the end of the tier list, you're gonna see the competition Fury has is very, very strong. I mean,
it might as well be S tier in the sense that it could probably do almost everything that S tier does almost, but the fact that S tier does that and a little bit better, it's, you know.
Yeah, okay. Now, Havoc Demon Hunter, which is basically a Fury Warrior, but better, right? That's what Fury Warrior does, but better. So that's the main gist of it. It's just like better. It has better boss damage than Fury Warriors, obviously. It has way better AoE. I mean, that's, you know, the numbers show it definitely. And, you know, it has like all the benefits you get from being a Demon Hunter.
And it's a better Demon Hunter than Fury Warrior is a warrior, because obviously you're going to have your Protection Warrior that's going to bring all the rallies and all of the stuns and the CCs, while the Havoc brings all the Demon Hunter ones as well. And
can you think about a bad thing about Havoc Demon Hunter? Is there
dude,
anything?
it's so this is why it was so weird, because I don't know what's better, Outlaw or Havoc. I think Outlaw might do a little bit more damage than Havoc sometimes, but Havoc just doesn't really have downtime. I guess Outlaw, I feel Outlaw starts its burst damage maybe a little bit quicker than Havoc.
It depends on the rolls. So this is I think the main difference is like if you get bad rolls, then you will fall behind a Havoc Demon Hunter as an Outlaw. I think we can talk about maybe some more initial burst single target damage. I think Havoc can get in front of that. Although if it's gonna like be a tyrannical, Outlaw may take the cake in the long run. It's very close, I would say. So one of the most perfect specs, I'd say.
It has very, very few downsides. It's kind of like a warrior as well. It might obviously it's more mobile and stuff, but it feels like you might fuck up Havoc more so than you would Fury, so maybe that's why we would recommend maybe Fury as a beginner spec.
All right.
But
let's put it in.
Looking at the S tier trifecta, that is the exact same team comp that everybody is running right now to clear. I think they're on 24, 25-ish, 20. I think there's 126 done. Yes, but at the recording of this video, obviously you guys might see this video a day later. So it might change. Maybe there's going to be more 26s by then, but that's just kind of how it is at the moment.
Yeah. So do you imagine this comp? Okay, put in a Prot Warrior probably over there and the rest of Druid.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the comp. Okay,
this is the dream.
Yeah. All right. Now let's talk about Red Paladins. Okay, and Red Paladins very controversial when it comes to them, as we have a lot of content for Red Paladins on our channel. They're not bad. And I would actually say that they can do some bonkers damage, like burst damage.
For sure.
Forget about it. And I would even go to say it's like above average AoE. All right, so it gets on the upper echelon in terms of like the AoE damage. It's really weird as a longtime Red Paladin player. It's really weird to like not have the giga single target damage. It's decent,
that's what I was thinking as well, because I'm not 100% sold on the red builds and the red design, because it's weird seeing Divine Storm in single target and it being pretty high on the single target.
I know, man.
Damage breakdown.
We talked about this so many times.
I think so. Basically, just to put it into context, Red Paladin goes into B tier, and I think this kind of rounds out the B tier, as in these guys are good at like one or two things, and they're really good at one or two things, but they're not as good at the others, while everybody above B tier does pretty much everything anyway. And that's kind of where Red is. Obviously it's a Paladin, and it's I guess it kind of has competition with Holy, which spec you would like in high keys. But even so, since Resto Druid is such a king, if you're not gonna have a if you're gonna have a Restore Druid, you could still bring a red if you really wanted the Paladin utility kit.
Yeah, man, and it's still, reds are still squishy. You're still gonna have problems healing them and maintaining them. But overall, there's still the mobility. It's still not great. There's gonna be issues with some boss fights. So it's all the problems are still there. But hey, performance-wise, very, very good. I would say.
I think better than in most years.
Yeah. But I would say better. I'm hoping for the day to see reds in S tier. Oh boy, would that be a celebration of first in.
Well, Feral's on its way though, so who knows?
All right, now let's talk about the Subtlety Rogues.
Dark Horse. I think we put it into D tier.
First time we did that. First time we did, yeah. But things have changed a lot since then.
Quite a lot.
But we put it into D tier as predictions, right? This is the thing. When we did the actual tier list, we saw the performance and we're like, okay, we made a mistake. We can own up to that because we're adults. And then we looked up into it, into the profiles and stuff.
Dude, Sub Rogue just scales differently. It's built differently. The way it's picking up steam, the more and more we go into the season, whether it's raids, whether it's M+, but definitely more obvious in M+. It just goes to show that obviously it doesn't have some of the weaknesses that Outlaw has. So Sub right now, again, one for context, is all the way into S tier. This is a very busy S tier, and we really wanted to make S tier feel really special, not have like just everybody there. But
yeah, so I think like where you would see a lot of like Subtlety Rogues shine is obviously like when you have like big packs. Like think about Algathar Academy, like the 3 boss with the mini ads, and you know Outlaw being target cap at 8 talented. Subtlety, you know, it is soft cap, but it's still like when you have like the Giga packs, you will still do a lot of damage. And the playstyle that is now like currently used with the secret technique, you know, having it buffed, it's just like super insane AoE damage when you go above 8 targets. Now it also does a great single target as well. It's performance-wise, you cannot really negate anything from Subtlety, and I would argue that it's a little bit more mobile than some other melee specs we have in our tiers, and that helps a lot in specific weeks as well. So S tier, respectable,
S tier, for sure.
All right, Unholy
DK.
But man, so we've seen Unholy DK on, I think it was on Subcreation. It was ranked on S tier, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was A tier next to Feral.
Yeah, okay. But this
is probably just this week. They probably are just picking up a lot of steam this week.
Yeah.
But overall, in all of the keys thus far, and obviously this will probably change in the future, Unholy is a little bit more rounded. Right now we have it into B tier, although I'm not sold. I don't know if it belongs into B tier, but it's just like every other spec into B tier, it seems like it's doing overall really good. It might have a niche. I mean, we all know that Unholy is maybe one of the best single target DPS specs in the game. If you look at some of these boss killers, man.
Right.
But I feel like it's sacrificing. I know Unholy Assault is not used as much. It's sometimes you can use it in tyrannical weeks and, you know, pump that single target damage a lot. But it still has like an overall very, very flexible build in terms of damage profile. You don't really change too much, so you don't, even though you sacrifice a little bit single target, you don't sacrifice it too much, so it never really falls behind. It's a better Death Knight than Frost for sure. You don't really, it doesn't seem like Unholy's really need Clawing Shadows, but it's a tool that you definitely have if you really need to play with it.
Yeah, the thing is, when we look at, so this is like mostly logs that were with Tyrannical. Now, I would argue that in Fortified, you would definitely see rise on Unholy DK at least to A tier, just because the mobs live longer. This allows them to have a lot more presence in terms of like, the
diseases,
all the Val Tint and all of that stuff over there. So just because of this week being more, I would say, problematic in terms of AoE damage. Problematic is a big word.
Yeah, but makes sense.
I can definitely see, like in weeks to come, I can definitely see it at least A tier, no problemo. Okay. Windwalker Monks, I mean, this is clearly, I would say, a C tier, struggling a lot. I'm
just gonna go.
Especially in AoE. I mean, it has no utility for Mythic Plus, obviously. I mean, what use can you make out of a Windwalker Monk? Then, you know, single target AoE, it's in the trash. I don't know if survival is... Should I stop? Dude, okay, Windwalker does everything, man. This like a Swiss Army knife of melee spec.
All of the things.
I don't know if I can pinpoint any negative. It's like similar to Havoc.
I think this is a theme of our S tier. Obviously, it's going to go into S tier, but I think it's a theme of S tier specs with very few weaknesses, which I guess, you know, it's kind of how it's been over the years. It doesn't seem like it's suffering from single target that much, but it does still feel... Excuse but it does still feel like it's the AoE specialist with the amounts of accessible burst that it has, with how easy it is to just do the AoE. I'm not saying necessarily easy, but let's say
it's easier. Let me tell you this.
Versatile to do the AoE.
It's easier than in the past for sure. And I don't know how many of you guys remember, you know, the AoE spinning great kick stuff back in Shadowlands, but that was like, you know, to pull that off, you needed some brain workings over there. It's still required. It's not like a no-brainer spec, but it's easier than in the past. That being said, you cannot really compete with the Windwalker Monk's mobility, especially if you play with Skyreach. That I mean, dude, that just is a charge to anything.
It's all over the place. I mean, the one thing that you can put it aside from the rest of the SC is that it's doing a little bit less damage than everybody else, but it is a monk. And it's probably the first monk spec you'll probably want in your group.
Yes. All right. Shall we do some disclaimers now?
As always. So basically, when we looked at the all of the data for making a tier list, it's a little bit difficult. And if you've seen our opinions on Max, because we did, Max did a very interesting coverage of tier lists and how they're made, and he made some really good points there that kind of round out the fact that you cannot really have an 100% relevant and accurate tier list for everything possible. So there's always something that the tier list will probably show you better than others. And in order to get like a more rounded opinion, we looked at sub creation, we looked at Warcraft logs, damage breakdowns, Raider IO, all the way a score as well. We took overall M+ score into consideration as well. It's always going to change. Like if you look at sub creation right now on the screen, it shows basically what the specs are. And usually we don't really want to go the sub creation route because sub creation has a tendency, it just
kills the middle of the pack, right?
I think it's maybe one of the more objective analysis because it just takes based on popularity and pure key level clears, and it just puts like a lot of specs into C and D tier and F tier respectively, because people probably just don't play them as much since they just want to push, right? And that just skews the perspective, and that doesn't mean that they're that bad, but that's probably what people will think. And vice versa, if you look at like Warcraft logs right now, it's super rounded out. You probably would consider it, oh, they're probably just SA and maybe B tier.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the differences, they're not that high, right? Like, this is why sometimes we look at like the highest keys some specs do. Sometimes we also look at, I don't know, some damage profiles as well. It really, there's so many factors that make the dependencies on ranking these, and we just like cannot like take the decision on, okay, if you're not doing 25s and above, you're F tier automatically. But
hey, look, our tier list looks like an F.
That's just not, yeah, exactly. That's just not the case. So hopefully this will clear up, and we also applied this philosophy and method of research on our raid tier list as well. So we're not pulling data out of our ass. It's all based on the numbers we get from Warcraft logs, and also look at things like Raider.io and sub-creation.
Sure.
Yes. Now, we always look at our patrons because they do all of this thing. They make it possible.
Better believe it.
Patrons so much for supporting the content. And thank you, CurseForge, for sponsoring this video. Make sure you download the app from the description and install that big debuff. Especially going to have to heal melees in previous. It's
because they stay in all of the stuff, man.
Yes. Thank you for watching the video. Have a great weekend ahead. Bye-bye.
See you next time.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.